Okay, girls. So this is an Armenian story, and it has been translated into English. So we are going to meet this old man in the story, and there are references to the sun, but we didn't see the sun in the story. Okay, let's start reading. The old gardener Neversud went down to the spring that welled up under the nut tree to wash and to rest. No sooner had he bent down to let the cool water splash on his sunburned face than he heard the team leader calling him. Hey, Neversud, hurry, your son Arshik is back. So here, girls, when the story opens, we see the old gardener, and we have come to know about his job. That Neversud actually is a gardener, and he's taking rest in the job when the team leader called him and told him that his son Arshik has come back. What? The old man said excitedly, and then straightened up with difficulty. He rushed back up to where the man was standing with an agility surprising for his years. Agility means energy, and he was surprised and he ran to the team leader. What did you say? When did he come? Where is he? He's in the village. I saw him myself. He's driving a blue sedan. Blue sedan means blue car, sedan four-wheeler car, okay, riding through the village. Lucky you, never said. God has blessed you with a fine son. And then he said that your son has become a gentleman and you are a lucky fellow to have such a son. The sun began to shine 10 times as brightly as before because Navasad is happy here. So he feels that the sun started shining 10 times as brightly as before. Navasad felt he was walking on air, and he thought that he was walking on air because he was happy. His heart pounded with excitement. Pounded means beat fast with excitement. Navasad seemed to be pondering over something as he looked in the direction of the village. And then he was thinking about something when he was looking in the direction of the village, but then turned sharply and ran towards a spot in the orchard instead. Orchard means a garden of fruits. He had not seen Arshik for 10 years. Each year he would look at the road hopefully and wait. He had waited patiently, and now at long last he would see him. Arshik had come at a good time. Fruit in the orchards had ripened, and he was still hale and hearty. Hale and hearty means healthy. So, in this paragraph, we come to know about the relation between father and son. And this is, I have already told you that Arshik is the adopted son. He's not the real son. Anyways, and he was living in a city, and for the last 10 years, the old man had not seen him. Okay. And then he was thinking that it's a good time for Arshik to come back because the fruit have ripened in the orchard and he is healthy. Neversud had no living relatives left in the village. His had not been a happy life. He had never had any children of his own, and his wife had died many years before. His brother and sister in law had died of hunger during the war, leaving an only son, Arshad. Okay, girls, this paragraph is important because it tells us about the life of Neversud, that he doesn't have any living relatives except Arshak. His wife died long ago and he doesn't have any children. Arshak is basically his brother's and sister in law's son, and they also died during the war out of hunger. So it's not a rich family, and Neversud was not a happy man. Then he recalled means remembered, that the largest of the watermelons had ripened under the huge mulberry tree by the river bank. He cut its stem, wiped the silvery dust from the melon with the hem of his long jacket and admired its shiny stripes. Okay, then he went to the watermelon and cut one because he wanted to serve it to Arshik. My Arshik loves watermelons, he mumbled, and he thought to himself that Arshik loves watermelons. He got down on his knee, put his arms around the melon, and squeezed hard with his ear to the rind. Okay, he moved the fruit closer to his own ear. He wanted to check if it is ripened properly. So he was squeezing it when he moved it near the ear. He nodded approvingly. Nodded means to move his head, approvingly means agreement. So he moved his head in agreement because the fruit is ripened. He then went over to the fig tree, climbed it with difficulty, and began picking the honey sweet fruit that had been pecked at here and there by the birds. Peck means bit. The birds bit the fruit, and he went there to have to collect figs for his son. He chose the figs and packed them gently into a bright woven basket. Okay, then he made a fig basket. Then Neversud set out along the bank to where a 6 months old white lamb was grazing. Okay, so the students, this is the white lamb whose name is written in the title. and it was grazing. Grazing means eating grass, and then the old man came to him. He was saving the lamb for a special occasion. He was keeping this lamb for a special party. Arshik has come home. I have finally lived to see the day. Neveset said to himself and untethered the lamb. It bleated loudly. Because the lamb was tied to a tree, so he untethered. Untethered means release the lamb. And then the lamb bleated. Bleated means produce sound loudly. Let's go, fellow, Neveset said. Come on, Arshik's home. And he climbed the steep path to the village, the heavy basket pressed on his shoulder. Which basket? The fruit basket. While the meek and gentle lamb either ran on ahead or fell behind him. Meek and gentle means submissive or weak. Okay, so the weak lamb was moving sometimes ahead, before him, and sometimes after him. Where are you going so early in the day? The people he met on the way asked. Arshik has come home for a visit, the old man would reply proudly. Everybody was asking him, why are you going home early? And he told them that Arshik has come back. On the way, each tree and bush, each stone and spring reminded him of Arshik's childhood. Many were the times that he carried the child up the steep path on his back. He would sit down to rest on the stone. Neveset would give Arshik a pear and would wipe his nose with the hem of his long jacket. There was the spring which Arshik liked to drink from. Neveset would cup his hands and Arshik would drink from them. Here was the small orchard. The trees still bore fruit abundantly and stayed green far into the autumn. When Arshik was 11, he fell from the cherry tree and broke his leg. Neveset carried him many miles to the doctor in the distant settlement. Okay, girls, this paragraph is important because it is telling us about their past when Arshik was only a child. And the old man never said he has taken a lot of care of Arshik when he was only a child. Okay, so there are two examples I'm going to point out. And like Neveset would give Arshik a pear and would wipe his nose with hem of his long jacket. Whenever Arshik was having flu or he was having his nose running, the old man used to wipe his nose with his own clothes, just like a mother. Okay, and then Arshik liked to drink from a spring, so the old man would make cup from his own hand, and Arshik would drink from there. Okay, so this shows his care as a mother. And then there is another incident when he was 11, he fell from a cherry tree and broke his leg, and then Neveset carried him many miles to the doctor. Okay, so all these three examples they show how caring Neveset was as a father. The Neveset thought of all the things he had sold to outfit Arshik for the city life when he had sent the boy off to study. Then he sent him to study in a university and he made arrangements for that. It had been a long stretch. Long stretch means long duration of time. But Arshik graduated from the university and had then gone on to study in Moscow. And then he went to Moscow. He had risen high in the world and then he became rich. Okay. So these two paragraphs, girls, they are important because they tell you that Navasad was a very kind father. Though Arshik is his adopted son, still he cared for him as his own son. Navasad would often tell his fellow villagers about the very important work Arshik was doing in the capital, about his grand car, and that he lived in the biggest house in Moscow. Okay, so Neveset used to feel proud about Arshik, and he used to tell people that he was living in the capital city and he was having a big car and the biggest house in Moscow. The old man was in a hurry to reach the village. The meek and timid lamb followed on his heels. He finally reached his house but didn't see Arshik's car outside. Okay, now here he has reached home, but he didn't find Ashik's car. Why didn't he drive right up? Neveset wondered, and then he thought, why is he not here yet? Ah, what I'm talking about. The gravel's too sharp here. Gravels means the small stone. So the road was rough and there were small stones on the road. So he said, no, the road is rough. Why I'm thinking about it, he was probably afraid he would ruin his tires. He might be afraid that the car tires would be ruined. It's good he didn't drive up to the house. And then he thought that it's good Arshik didn't come home. His one-story flat roofed house with a terrace and an earthen floor was like an eagle's nest stuck onto the mountain slope, one among many others. So here we come to know about his house, that it is only one story and it's a mud house, just like village houses. Neveset entered the yard, set the basket on the ground, tossed an armful of grass to the lamb. and looked about. So he came home, left the basket, fig basket on the ground, and then gave grass to the lamb to eat. And he looked at the house. For the first time in his life, the house looked pitiful and decrepit to him. Decrepit basically means weak, feeble, but here pitiful and decrepit means the house was not looking good. The house was in a bad shape. Well, it's Arshik's house too. This is where he grew up. He won't be ashamed of his own house. He said to console himself and began clearing the yard. Now he thought that the house doesn't look good for Arshik because Arshik is a rich man now. But suddenly he realized, no, this is Arshik's house too, and he won't feel embarrassed about his own house. Congratulations, Devasir. Arshik's come back. It was the old neighbor woman looking over the fence. So the neighbor woman, she congratulated him that Arshik has come back. Nevasir flushed with joy. Thank you, and may your wanderer return as well. Wanderer means the person who wanders, the person who travels a lot. So he said, may your son also come back. I saw Arshik. Was he here? The lady said she saw Arshik, and he said, was he here? No, I went to the shop for a package of needles and saw him standing out in front of the farm office. What a fine boy he is. You'd never say he wasn't a Shah's son. Shah's mean king's son. She said that she had seen him in the market and he was looking like a king's son. Just couldn't take my eyes off him. May the Lord bless you. Thank you, the old man said in a voice that was thick with emotions. He went about tidying up the yard with zeal. Tidying up means cleaning up, zeal means energy. First, he swept up. Swept up means cleaned the dirt. I don't want my boy to dirty his shoes. Now, again, look at his care. He doesn't want the boy to dirty his shoes in the dirt. Then he hammered in a protruding nail with a rock. Protruding means sticking out. So there was a nail that was sticking out of a wall and he fixed it. Arshik might catch his sleeve on it and tear his jacket. So he loves Arshik so much. He was concerned about him and he was fixing even the nails that were coming out of the walls so that Arshik should not tear his clothes. Neversaid opened the door. A cot stood forlornly against the bare wall. Cot means bed. Forlornly means alone against the bare. Bare means uncovered wall. So he opened the door and he found the bed there. I'll say, remember how you slept on this bed, Arshik, and I slept here on the floor. Now he's thinking about future. That when Arshik will come home, he will say to him, look at this bed, Arshik, this is your childhood bed. And I'll say to him that you slept on the bed and I slept on the floor. So again, this shows his care as a father. He was thinking as he smoothed the cover. I'll say, this is your old bowl, the one you ate from. Look, Harshik, this is your wooden spoon. Remember the day I bought it from the wood carver Manas and you were angry because there was no design on it. And then I took it to the artist and had it painted for you. So he is thinking about future that when today Arshik will come home, he's going to talk about past. Okay, that in the past, Arshik's bed was there and he used to sleep on a bed while the Neversaid was on the floor. Okay, and then he will show him old bowl and old spoon and things like this. Conversing thus in thought with Arshik, conversing means talking thus in thought with Arshik, he set out for the spring, brought some water and sprinkled the yard, the terrace, and the floor inside. Then he began to sweep, and now he started sweeping the home. Once again, the old neighbor woman's head appeared over the fence. Never, sir, do you know that Arshik has gone over to the chairman's? Chairman's means chairman house. So the woman is telling him that Navasad has gone to the chairman house and he didn't come home. No, when did he go there? Just before you got back. He must have seen there was no one at home and gone over there to rest up. He'll be along. He won't get lost. And then he said, no, he will come back quickly. Of course, Neversaid brought some kindling wood. Kindling wood means food for fire and stacked it. Stack means collected it by the outdoor fireplace. Then he took his knife from his belt and went over to the lamb. And then he moved towards the lamb to cut it for and cook it for Arshik. At the last moment, he changed his mind. I'll wait till Arshik comes, okay? He decided and looked in the direction of the chairman's two-story house. What's keeping him? What's keeping him means what's stopping him. It will be dark soon. The figs will spoil. The corner will lose its taste. He was thinking that I have collected all the fruit for him and the fruit would spoil if he doesn't come back now. He took the fruit from the basket and laid it on the windowsill. Windowsill means the place near window, just to keep it fresh for Arshad. Then he borrowed a new tablecloth from the neighbors, covered the table, shook out the rug, covered the couch, and put a pillow on it. So he was tidying up the place again. Everything was now ready. Still, Arshak had not come. What's the matter? Why did he go to the chairman's house? Navasad wondered irritably, and a tremor passed through his hands. Tremor means fear. He had to console himself. However, saying Arshik is an important man, he had to drop and ask the chairman about how things are in the village. And what's the rush anyway? I'll have him to myself for a couple of days. I won't let him out of my sight. We'll make up for the lost time. Okay, here the old man somehow is realizing that Arshik is not coming home. But then he thought, no, he's an important man and he has gone to the chairman house to discuss something important. He will come back to me, and then for the next days he's going to live with me only. So he was just consoling himself. The sun was setting, but still Arshik had not come home. Okay, it was going to be evening, but Arshik didn't come. The old man's anxiety mounted. Mounted means increased. There was a moment when he was about to set out for the chairman's house, but then he changed his mind. He decided to go to chairman's house himself to meet Arshik. He went into the yard and called to his neighbor's grandson, but then he changed his mind and called his neighbor's grandson. Run over and see what Arshik is doing. Tell him I'm home and waiting for him, he said. So he asked the boy to go and meet Arshik and tell that I'm waiting. The boy was back in no time. Well, did you see Arshik? What's he doing? Drinking tea. Did you tell him that I'm home? Yes. What did he say? He said, all right. Nelson repeated the words to himself. Well, then that means he'll soon be home. I'll start the fire for the shashlik meanwhile. So he was thinking to make shashlik for Arshak. He had a good fire going in the fireplace. Then he set to cleaning the skewers. Skewers, the tools used to make shashlik. He went back into the house, wiped the dust off the lamp, and sat down at the table to wait. Now he's waiting again. Time dragged on endlessly. The lights went on in the village, and the houses took on a cozy look. Cozy means comfortable look because the houses were ready for the people to sleep in. The street noises were dying down soon. The only sound was that of dogs barking mournfully in the distance. So it was the night time. Ashik had still not returned. The fire died down, leaving a mound of ashes in the fireplace. Mound means heap. So now the wood has become ashes, while the lamb lay on the grass chewing its cud. Cud means the remaining food. It's typical of animals, students. When we give them something to eat, they take it to their stomach and afterwards they take it back to their mouth and start eating the remaining parts. Okay, so the lamb was busy in chewing the cud. Nevesid was all ears. All ears means he was listening as he peered into the darkness. His eyes became strained and started to tear. And then he started crying. His head felt heavy. He rose, but then his feet refused to budge, move. Okay? He wanted to walk, but he couldn't. Why should I go back into him? I'm older than he is. He should come to me. He began to grumble. Grumble means complain, but then consoled himself once again by saying, well, he's an important man. Maybe he has something important business, some important business to discuss with the chairman. He'll come home in the morning. But even then, he started consoling himself. He said, "No, he's an important person. Maybe he'll come to me again." But still, he waited. He waited far into the small hours. The autumn night was drawing to a close. The old man's eyes grew dim from peering intently into the darkness. Intently means carefully, because he was looking carefully into the darkness to wait for Arshik. His eyes started having pain. Slumber gradually lulled him to sleep at the table. Slumber means sleep. He fell asleep. He didn't know how long he had slept. He was awakened by the neighbor woman's voice calling from the yard. He opened his eyes. He was surprised to see the first rays of the sun peeping into the window. So he slept till quite late this time. Never said, hey, never said, the neighbor called. He rushed out to the of the house. His neighbor was looking over the fence. How come you have slept so late today? She said, why were you sleeping so late today? What is it? Is Arshik on his way here? And he asked her about Arshik again. No, she said and shook her head. Your Arshik is leaving. Look at the road. And she told him that Arshik is leaving without meeting you. Neversaid felt as if the roof had come down on his head. So he felt sad. He ran over to the low shed and climbed to the roof. Arshik's car was speeding along the road, glittering in the sun, glittering and shining, quickly becoming smaller and smaller because it was moving away. His unsteady gait means walk, was that of an old man. Now he was moving slowly like an old man. Unsteady means without balance, okay, like old man. In the beginning of the story, girls, you have seen that the old man was walking fast because he was happy. Now that he has become sad, his walk was like an old man. Neverset was making his way down the path to the orchard, and he was going to the orchards. His eyes that stared means looked at the ground, seemed to have become sunken. It seems that they have gone to the ground. His back seemed more stoop means bent than ever. The white lamp gambled after him, and it was the white lamp who accompanied the old man. The white lamp was jumping after him. So, from the beginning till the end, we have seen the white lamp with the old man. And this story tells you about the relationship between the father and the son. The father is quite caring and he doesn't care about anything else other than his son. Though the son is an adopted son, he's not his real son. On the other hand, the son is quite materialistic, and when he has become rich, he has forgotten the old man who has raised him as a father. So, this is a lesson for all of you because now that your parents will be old after some years, you have to take care of them and don't forget them when you enter your practical life. Okay, so this is all about our lesson, and I'm going to stop share this screen with you. Now, here we are. Okay, girls, so this is all about today's meeting. Just listen to it, read the description, and if you don't understand, you can ask me. Okay.